Hello, this is Robert Pultz, and wanted to share with you some happenings that have occurred since I did the last video on the 4th, 10/4/24. Um, the first thing that happened, well, what I did was I copied that video to the Oklahoma Historical Society, and they got back to me in 2 days. They made the changes to the collection that was miscategorized. They also informed me that there's a way of taking and searching by collection number. They no longer call it collection number; they call it repository number, which is interesting. So if you know that, it helps a little bit. So I've relabeled everything repository number with collection in parentheses next to it. Let's see what else. In addition to they taught me how to do that. I've been playing with the new software, and I really like the new website. It has a lot more detail in it, so I wanted to go through that with you. I'll be deleting the following two videos: the one that was done on 10/4/24, and the one that was done about 2 years ago that was on the Oklahoma History Society archive search. Now, I'm going to try and hook those people to this video, but I don't really know how to do that in YouTube, so it may or may not work. So today's objective is to take and show you how to take and use the Oklahoma History Society to search for collections if you have the collection number, but also if you don't have the collection number. And in addition to that, I decided to go ahead and show you how to search for the library using basically the same terms that I'm using for the collection number. So let's take a collection number, which is my collection, 2011.298. Copy that. Come over here. Here's the Oklahoma Historical Society. You have to come down to the Research Center, then scroll down to Search Online Catalog. And if you want to find the collections, they're going to be in the archives. The library is books, and that's a different collection. And these two are separate. So you've got to search both of them separately if you want to find this stuff. So let's put that. Now, you'll notice you have search, browse collections, browse creators, browse subjects, and browse repository number, and then my saved items. If you have an account, if you build an account on there, you can take and save some items over there. I played around with that a little bit, and it works. So let's put the number in, okay, and do a search. Okay, now this is by collection. And notice all the detail that they've got now. Before, you just got a little record that said it was there. And you'll notice that there are videos in here, manuscripts in here. There's all types of stuff in here. 7 boxes of certificates. I think there's only 2, or 7 certificates maybe. Okay, and you do that, and that'll give you the view of the collections. Now, this is an overview. If you come down here, you'll see that there are numbers across the bottom. As you walk across here, this is the box 2 or number 2 is got all the videos in it. So these were 8 millimeters that were converted to DVD by the Oklahoma History Society for me. And I really appreciate that. And apparently you can buy the DVDs at the gift shop. I have the copy of the DVDs that they gave me. But anyway, they're there. Here's this second box or third item, whatever it is. It's got the Eufaula Dam Centennial. Okay, there was a centennial program for the Eufaula Dam. We collected a lot of information for them at the Eufaula Library so they could take and do this. 4th grade class in the elementary school put on a program, and it was really quite good. The Foley collection was Marshall Foley wrote a column for the Indian Journal for a number of years. And this index is the index of the materials that he used to take and do that project. Uh, it's, and it was also the core that we used for the 2007 Centennial Project. Here's the Pulse family documents. Here's Flora May Scovern, Savory, Pulse, Kennedy, and James Raymond McDonald. James Raymond McDonald is interesting because he's on my wife's side of the family, and he spent a lot of time in the Antarctica. There are 3 or 4 letters, or not letters, but house organs from Antarctica in this box. He has school pictures. James was also involved in the nuclear testing program, and he was irradiated on one of the Navy ships as part of that program. Here are certificates. Here's the Groesbeck Journal, which is my wife's family came from Groesbeck, Texas. And so here's the journal. It has a little discussion in it about the family and certificates. Okay. And it's going to open up each one of those. Okay. Here's the marriage certificate for Beverly W. Pulse, my great grandfather. Yeah. And Otta Kennedy, that was his second wife. Logan County School Diploma for Lita Florence Pulse, who's one of Mabel's sisters. Central State Normal School Diploma for Mabel. That's when she got her first. Well, when she graduated from high school, she could teach for 2 years. She went to what's now Central State Normal School, Central State College in Edmond for her bachelor's program, and that's this. Here's her one of her penmanship certificates. There should be 2 in this box. This is the Logan County High School Diploma. So here's her high school diploma that gave her 2 years that she could teach. She taught in a rural school for 2 years. Then she went to Norman, and then she Bachelor of Science in Education from the University of Oklahoma. Then she went to Oklahoma, OU, and received her educational certificate. Certificate of completion for another penmanship for Mabel. Here's her high school diploma for Flora, which should be 1924. Mabel should be 1911, if I remember correctly. And then Guthrie High School diploma for Lois Honor Pulse. And then here's a certificate for where Mabel went across the Arctic Circle. She liked to travel. Oklahoma Congress of Parents and Teachers Distinguished Service Award for Mabel. Here's the Beverly Pulse and Flora Fury. She was the girl across the street in Kansas that he married, and they had one child. It was Desi. Desi then married, and then she had one child, and that was Flora Scovern. So that's how Flora Scovern fits into the family. Later on, Desi died, and she died when Flora was quite young, and on a train actually to Guthrie. And Flora then was adopted by Beverly Pulse family and raised by the Beverly Pulse family. Oklahoma School System Teacher Certificate for Mabel Pulse, another teacher certificate for Mabel Pulse. Department of Education Grammar Certificate for Flora Scovern. This is her high school graduate. Cradle Certificate for Ella May Pulse. Child of Harry Pulse and Ella May Pulse. Ella May Hess. And certificate for the First Methodist Church promoting Harry Jr. To the primary department. So they were First Methodist. And certificate of Lois Pulse, Elementary School, City of Guthrie. So she made it through the elementary school. She was actually, I think she had a teacher certificate later on. No, I don't think that's in here. Okay, this box, number 6, is Eufaula Dam and Reservoir Ceremony report and a table of contents. Cemetery completion report and table of contents. This is graves moved for Lake Eufaula information. So there's all that information that's in my collection, and there's also a separate collection where the originals are. And I'll show you where that is in a minute. Court case for Harry Pulse Jr. That's my father, Harry, and court cases that he was involved in. Photocopies of M.A. Pulse. M.A. Pulse was a U.S. Marshal that eventually ended up in Leavenworth Prison for a year. He is my great uncle. He is Beverly's brother, and G.W. Pulse's son, along with Beverly, is also G.W. Pulse's son. Graduation scrapbook for Flora May from high school. That's her scrapbook from graduation from high school. High school graduating class 1924. That's Flora. Guthrie High School scrapbook for Flora May. I don't know what the difference between these two are. Correspondence with Flora Scoville. This was correspondence generally with a ranger in Colorado that both Flora and Mabel knew, and they corresponded with him quite a bit. There is a collection at the in Colorado, in the Boulder, Colorado, at the I can't think of what the archive is called in Boulder, Colorado. That have also copies of Flora and Mabel's letters and correspondence with this ranger. He donated 4,000 glass plates of the Rocky Mountains to that archive, and all of his correspondence. And the Flora and Mabel are in there, along with about 50 other people that he corresponded with. Here's the Daughters of American Revolution certificate that our process that Flora went through to become a daughter of the American Revolution. Mabel did the same process. I don't have a copy. I did not have a copy of that. The valedictorian speech is Mabel's valedictorian speech. She was a valedictorian of Guthrie High. I think it was 1911, and this is the original speech. It can be found in the newspaper, but this is the original that she read from that day. Here's Scoville family stuff. Inside of this are pictures of Flora when she was young. Her father, photography was new around 1900, 1911. Flora was 1920, 1930. And he took a lot of pictures of her. Of course, when her mother died and she moved in with Beverly, Paul's family, photographs continued, but they weren't as many as the father took, I can tell you. Here's Savory family documents. Ernest Savory was my mother's second husband. He's also from Guthrie. Most of these documents are going to be for Clinton, Missouri. And the trailer lots that he owned up there. But some of them lead back to Logan County. He was born in Logan County, north of Guthrie, about 20 miles. I don't think it's Mulhall. I think it was another city up there. I can't remember what it was. Okay. Box number 8. This is the obit for my mother, my brother, and my nephew. Okay. This is their family stories. At the time that this was written, my mother's 2 brothers were still living. They are no longer living. This is Once Upon First Families. This was the 2007 Eufaula Library project for 2007. It was the town celebration for the 2007 centennial celebration. We had 250 people show up that night. This was a group project. This is just the documentation, the scanning of many of the documents that were there. I didn't get them all done, but many of the documents are there. But also in here are video snippets of individuals that played First Family characters in there. But of most importance and the most valuable part in this is a video snippet of a Creek elder who did the opening and closing ceremony. I am told that that's the last recorded performance that she ever did, and she was a Creek elder. Very important piece of literature, if that is true. And so it was an important night. It turned out to be very important. Number 9. Okay, Lita pulse file container, BW pulse, that's Beverly Wright pulse, Mabel pulse container. This Lake the Tale of Lake Eleanor by Mabel Pulse. This should have about 9 or 10 poems. Lake Eleanor is the only one that Mabel got published publicly, and it was in the newspaper. I haven't found which newspaper yet, but the newspaper clipping is there. It just doesn't have a date and name on it. But all of these, in addition, there's 3 versions of this poem in that box. All are handwritten by Mabel, except for the 3rd edition is the newspaper. There are other poems in that box that were written by her and in her hand. This is the Logan County High School materials for Mabel Pulse. 1911, Mabel was on the group that did the annual report for the Logan County High School. And this is all the material she collected there. One of the things that's in there that's very interesting is the documentation for Kingfisher and their high school graduation. It lists all their graduates. Another thing that's interesting in this folder is all the signature cards for people that were graduating with Mabel, her classmates. They used to get little business card-like things that had their signature on it, and you pass those around. And she's got her collection there. She probably has most of the class in there. Harry Beverly and Eva A. Pulse, that's my grandfather and my grandmother. She was Eva A. Hetch. And so this is the documents for there. Here's their estate documents. This is from Enid. They were living in Enid when he died and she died. They died within, I think, 8 months of each other. So that's all the estate documents that concern him. This is the Pulse family photo albums. In there, it goes back at least to G.W. Pulse, who's my great-great-grandfather. So it goes G.W., which is George Wesley, and then it goes to Beverly Wright Pulse, and Harry Sr. Pulse, and then Harry Jr. Pulse, which is my father. And all the children of each, I think everyone is documented in there. A lot of the siblings and offspring from the siblings are in there. Ration books, these are the World War II ration books that's got Eva Delbeck's and also Mabel's. That male should be Mabel. Those are the World War II. That would be very interesting for people that are doing World War II research to take and see what the ration books look like they actually used. There's ration tickets in there for tires and for gasoline and for all kinds of things. And because she was a school teacher, she got some sort of ration for gasoline too. Clinton City Merchant License for Green Acres. This is Ernest Glenn Sabry's trailer court license for doing business in Clinton, Missouri. Very part of the Sabry family information. Number 10. Okay, keep track of these. This is the Groesbeck Journal. Groesbeck, Texas, is where my wife Diane is from. I'll call her Dee when I get casual here in a minute. And this is her family. This is a journal that we picked up when we were down there, and it has some information of the family in it. Number 11. This is the DVD that contains the obits for my mother, my brother, and my nephew. And here's this is my mother's brother who died when she was young. And this is Bernard and Frank are living at the time this was written. They are not anymore. Navid this is his obit and information on him. And David Allen Pulse. Navid is my mother's grandson, my nephew. David is my brother. Okay. Number 12. This DVD contains, here's the first families, are the 2000 Centennial Celebration, and this is all the information I was telling you about earlier. You follow high school yearbooks. They're on this DVD or another DVD that's following in a minute, are 100 years worth of Eufaula yearbooks. Fully indexed, explained who that was. Lake Eufaula Reflections is a publication about Lake Eufaula. These are excerpts from that. Miscellaneous pictures are just pictures that probably didn't make it into the 2007 centennial celebration, but came in later. In this collection, miscellaneous pictures are one that's labeled churches. Now, it may be up in this collection. And it is a detailed history of all the black churches, or many of the black churches in Eufaula. One of the most complete collections I have. Sellers family, that was one of the first families in Eufaula. In fact, they were in North Forktown and moved to Eufaula. I think he ran a sawmill, if I recall my history right. Architecture in Oklahoma. These are excerpts of things about Eufaula architecture in Oklahoma. Birth of Guthrie is a book about Guthrie, and in it, it discussed the architect who also did the Foley building in Oklahoma, or is assumed to have done the Foley building in Guthrie, Oklahoma. It's very similar to some of the buildings that he did in Guthrie. He, by the way, is buried in Muskogee. You follow a picture history. This is probably the only documentation of this book that exists for future. The book was done in a format that has not been upgraded to current formats, current data formats. It's one of those things that the format didn't move forward and the data's lost. Glimpses of the Past has excerpts again from another book that's on that. North Forktown is the publication called North Forktown that was done by one of the historians. So that's the entire scan of the whole book. Roadside History of Oklahoma has the excerpts about Eufaula that are in there. These were all used in the 2007 centennial to take and talk about. The Buckskin is a Dakota document. Never quite figured out where it fit in myself. Everybody else seemed to know what it was, so I never did dig into it much, but I scanned it and made sure that it was available for other people to look at. 13. DVD. This DVD. Well, this is looks like another collection of the 2007 centennial. This is a collection of McIntosh County histories. Here's Mabel's World War II ration books. This is a copy of the originals that were in the other box. This is the Lake Eufaula Dam construction. That's all the pictures of the Lake Eufaula Dam construction that were at the Eufaula Library. Eufaula school pictures over the years includes 100 years of scanned yearbooks. Okay. And then here's a tanker fire that occurred in 1953. There were a lot of photographs taken of that. Just when we were doing the 2000 Centennial collection, people would bring us stuff, and the provenance wasn't necessarily well documented. They just drop it off the library, and we'd include it in the Centennial. But there's a lot of stuff in there. Okay, here's one of the 8mm films, 14. Here's another 8mm film. You can read what this is down here. 16. This is a foliage tour. This tour is actually documented in a letter that's in the archives in not Denver, but in Colorado that I told you about before. 17. This is a groundbreaking of an unknown name building. It'll be interesting to see if we ever figure out what that building is. Here's the 89ers parade. That's 1959. It's got Governor Edmondson in it and so on. As far as I know, there's only two uh, movies of that particular 1989. One was done by a TV station, and it's about the same quality as this one is. I was surprised when I looked at it. 19. This is Mrs. Pulse. Mrs. Pulse is Mabel's mother. There are these women I should know, and I was not able to figure it out. The interesting part is the chimpanzee in this video. Uh, just really don't. I just really couldn't imagine them having a chimpanzee. But if you knew Mabel, she would have a chimpanzee around. So I don't know what the chimpanzee was doing there, but it was there for a couple of days, and you get a good picture of the backyard and a good feel for living, how they lived and so on. So that's that collection. Let's see. Let's go back to this. Let's see if it'll go back. There we go. So let's look at these other collections by collection number while we're here. Okay, let's see. This is the Doyle rule stuff. Copy. Okay. This is 4,000 negatives. And they're basically from the late 1960s to the early 1980s. They were acquired by the library when a person who had bought a storage container found these. At the time, they were completely unidentified, which explains some of the confusion factor with the Oklahoma Historical Society, because when I gave it to them, they were not identified. 2,000 of these negatives were scanned by the library's volunteers. There were a number of people involved, and never got all their names. But it was masterminded by the head librarian and assistant librarian of the time. And they managed it all. When it came time to do something with them because their library management was changing, I was asked to take this to the Oklahoma Historical Society. So all I did was record the information and publish it on DVD. So there's a DVD of this. So I took the slides, and I took them to this. You know you're from Eufaula Facebook site, and I posted them there. All 2,000 of them that had been scanned. And there is a DVD in here that has the results of that crowdsourcing identification. And I would say 90 to 95% of the slides were identified. The most interesting one was a tree that was at the high school. It's still at the high school, in fact. It's by the gate at the high school. That was the tree that the students at the high school were allowed to paper. Now, if you don't know what paper is, you take toilet paper and you wrap something. And our age group, we used to wrap trees and houses and all kinds of stuff for football games and stuff like that. It was a popular thing to do. There are a ton of stories. I had 75 to 90 stories of people talking about that tree and wrapping that tree on that DVD. But most of the other photographs are identified. This is where we learned that this was the Doyle rule stuff, and his photograph is in there next to a photo enlarger. If you don't know what a photo enlarger is, we use software today for that. But in the old days, you used a mechanical enlarger, and he's in there. But most of the principal people, business people in Eufaula, have stock pictures in there in case they were going to be used in the paper at some time. This includes negatives of photographs that were used and negatives of photographs that were not used. And we tried to identify them as much as we could. I have several times tried to get the other 2,000 pages done and also get all 4,000 done in a professional manner. Never been able to raise the funding for that. But that's sitting at the Oklahoma History Society. If anybody takes and wants to go down there and pay the Oklahoma History Society for digitizing them, they're quite willing to do that. I imagine the price keeps going up if you don't get it done. So You might think about that. I think it's a an important thing. This is the Albert D. Bryant collection. Albert D. Bryant was um, a photographer in Guthrie, Oklahoma, Logan County, and he was there from before statehood, well up into the 2000s or so. I imagine some of his children took over that business and did it. But anyway, uh, he saved the negatives from the work that he did in case people came back. They were filed in little packets by the name of the person who paid for the negatives to be done, or the pictures to be done. The negatives were donated to the Logan County Genealogy Society, where at the time those negatives then were given out to the people whose family they represented. In that process, I received 100 packages of negatives, a lot more than 100 negatives. Among the things that were in those packages, and there were a lot of family members in those packages, and I got the packages based on surnames. So some of the surnames were not my family, but some of the people that had those surnames were not my family, or at least not identified as my family yet. It's possible they are, but in the hundreds that I got, there were the photographs, the negatives of the photographs that Mabel used for taking and distributing photographs of the people that were in. She used to do albums for people like Harry Sr. got an album when he went into the Navy of the family to carry with him while he was in the Navy. There, so she has almost all the photographs that are in her albums. These negatives that did those photographs are in this collection. Also, Harry Jr., my father, after the divorce, took several pictures by the Bryant Studios, and they're in there. And they're surprising because I had never seen them before. There are many family members, even Newman took a picture of a picture that he was real happy with. I believe the picture was in their living room in Midland, Texas, at one time. So what happened is I took those 100 folders of photographs and I scanned them, and they're on DVD and they're in my collection. Okay. Then I took the originals and I gave those back to Oklahoma Historical Society. And that was because I was told that the Logan County Genealogy Society gave the residual, what was left, what people couldn't identify, to the Oklahoma Historical Society because they had the facilities for storing them properly where they wouldn't be damaged. And so my 100 folders of pictures should be incorporated back into this collection. The DVD of the scans and the indexing of those scans is in my collection on a DVD. Okay, so you can find that there. This is a very interesting collection. Pittsburgh County Genealogical Society had 19 books from the federal court that was in McAllister for naturalization records, and they have the declarations of intent and the petition records in here. They're in 9 boxes, but you will see the boxes here. This is how many documents are in each one of them, I think. And in addition to the petitions, there are the court records that are associated with petitions. So you've got all of this has been indexed, and it's on a DVD. And I don't see the DVD in my collection, but it could be in my collection, or it could be in this collection. The key thing is that I know that Mallory uses it because she told me so. So wherever it's at, get with Mallory and she can find who's in that. The index, the whole thing is indexed. Now, there is two caveats. First off, all the pre-statehood naturalization records are on a DVD, on a microfilm. The index of the microfilm is on the DVD. The microfilm, I don't know if the Oklahoma History Society has it or not, but the Pittsburgh County Genealogical Society does have it. So that's there, and they can scan the documents off of there for you. And book number 1, I think it's of declarations only, but it could be petitions. Let's see. They say they've got book 1. But book number 1 went to the National Archives, and it was scanned there by Ancestry. And it's on Ancestry's paid website to take and be reviewed, indexed and everything. But the rest of these 19 books are not on Ancestry and haven't been scanned, professionally scanned by anyone that I know of except for me. And I scanned these in my home with a homemade scanner. And they're on that DVD scanned. Pittsburgh County Genealogical Society has it. They also have copies of paper copies of this. You can get copies there. But the originals are at the Oklahoma Historical Society, and they'll make copies for you also. So it's just up to you where you want to take them and do them. If you have family that was normal and naturalized. Now, a little bit about the naturalization process. These aren't necessarily people from Pittsburgh County. There are people in there from West Texas. There are people in there from Arkansas. There are people who, for reasons unknown to us, traveled to McAllister, to the federal court in McAllister to be naturalized, that are from way out of state. And so don't be, you really need to get with her and have her run the index on it for you to take and see if your people are there. Okay. It's a very interesting collection. Okay, let's see what we've got here. I think we've covered everything. If you see anything in any of these collections that you would like to have more detail on, put it in the comments. I've more or less scheduled like 45 YouTube videos and in my mind of what I could do. But I'm not going to do them unless I have some interest out there. The Honey Springs battlefield stuff, that my wife's had 2 members of her family in the Honey Springs battle. 1 member died there. And so we went to several reenactments. There are pictures of the reenactments there. Eastern Oklahoma Train is a presentation that I did for the Pittsburgh County Genealogy Society. And it's on a DVD disc there, and they are selling that DVD disc. So you can get a copy of that from them. I collected everything I could find on the Eastern Oklahoma trains and where they ran, and all the pictures I could find. I was fortunate that Mulholland had collected a lot of pictures on before me, and he had thousands of pictures, and they're all in this exhibit, all arranged by different railroad operating companies. The next thing down is the Eufaula Area Museum Transportation Exhibit. All the pictures of the development of that exhibit. That exhibit was done by many people, one of which was a relatively famous artist that I enjoyed working with. And all the development pictures and process pictures of how that's put together and how to take it apart and how to move it are all on a DVD, and that's all part of this collection. The Quinton Journal was a journal. People realized that I was collecting historical stuff for Eastern Oklahoma. The Quinton Journal was given to me by one of those individuals. I placed it on the Oklahoma Gen website for Pittsburgh County, and I did a crowdsourcing identification on it. I'd say only about 10% has been crowdsourced. But if you're from Quinton, and you're in the 1930s and you're looking for family members, you can find what they bought and how much they paid for it and which family member got it in this journal. Now, it is in terrible shape. The front and back are gone, and some of the pages are really light. I enhanced them with software to try and bring them out, and did what I had in there. Therefore, I gave the original of this to the Eufaula Area Museum. And so the original is sitting there. If somebody has more tools or can take and follow it, it's there. But the DVD has got the pictures on it, and it may still be on the Oklahoma Gin website for Pittsburgh County. So you could have the opportunity to go view the images there. Dusky Diamonds was a promotional thing done for Hartshorn, Haleyville, Dow, and Gowan. All little towns, coal towns. That's the diamonds are coal. Coal towns in Pittsburgh County. There's also some McAllister in this. This has got all the principal people for this time frame, which was right around 1900. This was like a promotional item for those towns, and so it's got bios of the principal people there. Talks about the mines. If you're doing research in that area and about the coal mining industry, it's a good resource. Here's a DVD of the Oklahoma Gin website for Pittsburgh County. I managed that site until about 2007, 2010, something like that. And this is a copy of that site at that time. Pittsburgh County Gin website. I discontinued managing that in 2017. So this was after that. So this may be 2020. Collection of the history of Eufaula Library. I was involved in a project where we were commemorating an individual that had died, a librarian that had died, and I was provided with all the pictures of the Eufaula Library. There's a video in this utilizing the individual, the librarian that had died. These pictures cover the history of the Eufaula Library from day one up to that date, which was about 2020. McAllister Library Projects. These are pictures that were done around the city of McAllister in 2015. Buildings, WPA projects, various shots of interesting objects in McAllister at the time. May be useful in the future for people that are interested in that. Okay. Okay. Now let's. We did the search by the browsing for repository number. Oops. Let's go back to here. Now let's do the search for using names. Okay, the collection that was renamed properly now for the Indian Journal at McIntosh County. This is the Doyle Rule collection, as I like to call it, is now here. And so you can view that record and see all the detail that's in it. There's all the photographs. That's 4,000 photographs. Robert Pulse, me, only appears on my collection. If you want to find the Eufaula Grace Move for Lake Eufaula, you have to call it the Cemeteries Displaced by Lake Eufaula. And there's those records. And you can see they show one box. That's about 18 inches of paper. Just for the heck of it, I threw in genealogical to take and see what title's genealogical. And there's quite a bit. I mean, they've got all kinds of, and look at the numbers across here. So they've got quite a bit. The Bryant collection of photographs, which someday will be scanned and available to the public. It's, is there. It's all negatives. Naturalization. These are titles that I found interesting. You may have different titles. Pittsburgh County naturalization records, right at the top. So, okay. Mabel Paltz. This is always fun for me. When I did this search for this many years ago, I expected only to find my collection. Looky here. This is something Mabel's fifth grade classroom did in 1945 to 47. And they made their own annual report for what was in the class. There's a picture that goes with that, too. That's in this collection that I was fortunate enough to have somebody send me off of Facebook, of all places. Flora Scover only comes up in my collection. Let's see. Some of the other things that I did. Conventions generated a whole collection of conventions. Look how many pages of those. And then I thought groundbreaking because we had that unknown building that we had groundbreaking for. If I was back there, I'd go pull all of these to take and see what matched up with that video and try and get it, figure out what building is being built there. No one's been able to identify it. Guthrie. For those of you that are doing Guthrie research, there's all kinds of Guthrie information in there. 89ers Parade. So I said there was only 2 done for the year that I put in there. And there they are. 89ers Parade. WKY News did the other one. And so that was it. If you go by family names, and I'd recommend you use your family names in here. The Pulse generates the Pulse collection at the top, but if we have later on, that's about it. That's all we get on Pulse, isn't it? The Kennedy generates quite a bit because there was a president named Kennedy. And so there's multiple pages of Kennedy. Probably worthwhile going through at some point in time. Arnold. These are all our Oklahoma surnames. The major Oklahoma surnames, there's a lot more. So there's a lot of Arnold in there. I have not found the Arnolds that are being done by my cousin yet. Bates. Lots of Bateses. That's my wife's family names. So there's lots of Bates. McDonald, another name for my wife. This will generate a lot. So quite a bit in the McDonald area in there. Jackson. Dang, the Jacksons. And I always do Rodman because I know Les Rodman, who's my cousin over in Edmond, teaches at the Edmond School, has donated a collection in there that they're processing. So I keep looking for it. Haven't found it yet. So that process may be on hold right now. Okay. And there's Rodmans are in there and multiple collections, none of which have early dates that are relatively close to when I know he put that collection in there. All right. Now, I promised you that we would do all these searches. So let's go do the library catalog. And let's start out with Pittsburgh County Genealogical. Let's see which of their books are in there. And here's the publication. Most of these are publications that the Pittsburgh County Genealogical Society had published. Tabusky News is their organ, their house organ. So, of course, you get the County Genealogical Society of Kansas in there too. But most of these are books that the Pittsburgh County Genealogical Society have published. So if you're doing work on research in Pittsburgh County, be sure and look at their books. There's a lot of good information in their books. And here's the Bryant collection. So there's quite a few Bryants in there. Naturalization. Immigrants who applied for naturalization, American naturalization process and procedures. So there's a lot of information on naturalization in there, as you would expect in a genealogy library. Class of 21. Let's see what happens there. Yeah. Okay. Conventions. Lots of information on conventions. Groundbreaking, which I thought, I got this from the names of the videos and stuff in my collection to see what would show up. I should encourage you to take keywords and start searching on those. So there's the conventions, and are the groundbreaking, and then Guthrie. So what they got on Guthrie? And look at all these numbers up here. There's pages and pages and pages. All right, now we start the surnames. Pulse is always a bad name because there are square wave pulses and everything the pulse is used on. And you only get 3. So one has to believe there's actually names in there. Kennedy. I eliminated surnames that didn't have any hits on them, so you weren't bored with that. Huh. Lots of Kennedys. Arnold. Lots of Arnolds. And then this one was really interesting. Bates are in my wife's family's names. Search. And looky here. This is the Texas Cavalry Officers Civil War Diary. Letters of James C. Bates. He is a relative of my wife's. And he was in the Civil War. And we have him fairly well documented in the Civil War. But we don't have this document. So I'd love to see this document and see what's in it. Had no idea this existed, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't there in past years. Nothing like that. You leave the area of a repository and move out of state, and they start getting information on your family. And that's the way it always is. McDonald's, there's a lot of McDonald's in there. So, and Jackson's. So hopefully some distant relative of mine will, if it's interested in the family and continuing the genealogy, will get a hold of this video someday and go to Oklahoma Historical Society and start digging into these names. Rodman. Look at that. I actually don't know where the Rodman name came from because it's not on my main line. I'll leave that up to my cousin to take and do the research there. But I think that's worthwhile. Okay, as I said, if you see anything in this chart right here, we'll go through it this way this time, that you want me to do something on, leave something in the comments. Now, I've done one for this Corps of Engineers grades relocated as a result of Lake Uvalde project. That one's done, and here's its URL and its name. But none of the rest of these have been done. Thinking about doing on the World War II Pacific USS Hector one, because right now those photos are all locked up for a 20-year span. And the individuals that I've locked it up for because they were still living has since died. And so I can release about 75% of those photos into the collection, and I'm thinking about doing a video for that. But I'd be glad to take and do a video based on feedback from you that you want to take and see what I've actually got and go through the collections, very similar to what I did here. So leave a message in the comments, and I will put that in and set it up as priority. I've got about a half a dozen projects going on right now. I've got enough projects to last me through the next year and the year beyond. But I will take and take feedback and give it priority over non-feedback. And so understand you mean a lot to me for just reading my videos and watching my videos and paying attention. So I'm willing to take and adjust my schedule based on your feedback and what interests you. You have a great day, and thank you for viewing. Subscribe if you haven't. Really do appreciate it, and give me feedback on the process or whatever else you feel like giving me feedback on.